I will destroy the Kaaba.
The camels were returned. Abdul Muttalib turned back toward Mecca. He told the people to keep to the hills and keep the holy ground free of blades. He told them to ask Allah for protection and leave the house to its Lord. That night, the city was quiet. The army made ready for the morning. Night passed quietly in Mecca. People stayed on the hills and prayed. At first light, the army stood outside the valley with shields lifted and lines set. The road toward the Kaaba lay open. The signal to move was given. Ropes were pulled. The great elephant Mahmud rose, then folded its legs again and would not take a step toward the city. They checked the harness and the chains, spoke to the keeper, tried a second signal. Nothing. The front ranks waited for the first stride that never came, so they turned the animal away from the Kaaba to test it. Faced east, it stood and walked a few paces. Turned west, it moved again. Turned back south, it walked without trouble. But when they faced it toward the Kaaba, it sank down and would not rise. Orders were spoken to urge it forward. Whips were raised and lowered. The keeper showed them the same thing again, so there would be no doubt. Any direction but the Kaaba, it walked. Toward the Kaaba, it refused. Time stretched. Captains shifted plans. Men passed water along the line. The city watched from the slopes and from the courtyard of the house, unarmed, holding to the rule of the holy ground, while the army that had crossed deserts could not make its first step inside the valley. In our own day, we know this moment. Everything prepared, every order clear, and yet one small piece will not move. Power learns its limits when the world says no. They readied one more attempt. Before it could begin, Allah changed the morning. This is Allah's command. This is how He guards His house. Small birds came over the valley, first a few, then more, then full flocks. They flew in rows above the troops, steady and low. Each carried 3 small stones of baked clay, one in the beak, one in each claw. When they passed over the ranks, they let the stones fall.
Look, the birds being, what are they carrying?
Stones! They're dropping stones!
Where a stone struck, a shield rang. Where it touched skin, heat and pain rose. The birds crossed again and more stones fell. The straight line that faced the road to the Kaaba began to bend. Gaps opened where men had stood, shoulder to shoulder. Leaders called to close the line. Men looked up, then lowered their heads. Some raised shields. Others covered their faces with cloth. Marks rose on skin. Strength left arms. Those who tried to stand firm sank to a knee and could not rise at once.
Keep your hands raised. The Lord of this house will guard it.
No sword came from Mecca, no spear from the hills. The people stayed in prayer and kept the holy ground free of blades. Allah sent help no tribe could stop. The birds passed once more and loosed what they carried. The front could no longer hold as a single front. Voices for order grew faint. Men shifted back from the places where the stones were falling. This is how Allah dealt with the people of the elephant, by small stones on small wings. By the time the birds wheeled away, the field did not look as it had at dawn. When the stones stopped, the line was gone. Many fell where they stood. Those who turned south fell on the road. There was no pursuit from Mecca, no blades from the hills. Not by swords, not by spears. By Allah's command, reports from that day say most died there. The rest died on the way back. Some dropped at the first rise beyond the valley. Some reached the next well and could not drink. Few went farther and none returned whole. As for Abraham, the harm did not leave him. Witnesses said sores spread where the stones had struck. His body weakened piece by piece. Fingers failed, flesh came away, and the man who had set out in pride had to be carried. At each stop, his strength was less than before. He gave short orders, then none. Near Sana'a, his chest gave way, and he died in a bad state, far from the house he had sworn to pull down. No sword was drawn in Mecca. The people thanked Allah and kept the holy ground free of fighting. The Kaaba remained, guarded by its Lord. When the valley settled and the smoke of fear was gone, people came down from the hills. Stalls were opened. Water was shared. Thanks were given at the Kaaba. The story of the army began to fade into whispers, and another story began in the same streets. In that same year, the year of the elephant, a child was born in Mecca, In that same year, the year of the elephant, a child was born in Makkah, a child from the line of Ibrahim through Ismail, a child of Banu Hashim, a child whose father had passed before he saw the light, and whose mother, Amina bint Wahb, held him close. The news reached his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, keeper of the Kaaba. He came to see the newborn and chose a name. They asked, "What will you call him?" He answered once, and then again, so all would hear, "Muhammad, Muhammad," so that he would be praised among people on earth. The city remembered that year for two things. The house was protected, and a child named Muhammad was born. He remained with his mother, under the care and love of his grandfather. Life in Makkah returned to its markets and wells, and people kept the memory of that year by the name they gave it, Am al-Fil, the year of the elephant. According to some narrations, for a number of years after that event, 7 in some reports, 10 in others, many among Quraysh spoke Allah's name alone. But years later in Makkah, when people argued about the Quran, Allah sent a short chapter that pointed them back to what they already knew, the year of the elephant. This is the reminder.
Yapmayı bırak. Android telefonunuzu nasıl